we have a comparison that I've been waiting for quite some time, because we have our new Ineos Grenadier, which is a ground-up four-wheel drive that just launched here in the US last year, and we're comparing it to, well, one of the most highly anticipated SUVs of maybe the past few years. Andre, what are you driving here?
Well, this is the all-new 2024 Lexus GX 550. And this is a luxury model of it. They have, of course, several different trims. And this is not an upstart, Tommy. Lexus has been around for decades and decades and decades, and this is their latest GX.
But why this is a cool comparison is both of these vehicles are realistically from $70,000 to like $85,000.
Yes.
And they are both full-time four-wheel drive, low-range capable, body-on-frame vehicles that go about it in two different ways.
Exactly. So why don't we compare them by running them off-road a little bit, showing you guys both of these, and maybe even looking underneath them.
Now, Andre, let's start with the elephant in the room. This is not the one that we really should be comparing.
We need an Overtrail.
Yeah, so Overtrail is the off-road version of the GX. We talked to Lexus. It's coming to us hopefully in the next couple of months.
Yes.
But this is the one that could get to us ASAP, which is a luxury plus trim.
Yeah, basically this is almost as loaded as you can make it.
Right. So
for features.
It's not quite apples to apples. We do apologize about that, and we'll redo our off-road testing when we get the Overtrail. So we're not going to go super deep into the woods today because we're going to damage these 22-inch wheels.
Yeah.
But we can still compare the bones of the vehicle, the engines, the interiors, because that's all going to be the same between luxury and Overtrail.
And you know, how about we start with styling really quick?
Yeah, what do you think, Andre? Which one do you like the look of?
First of all, I love both of them. And, you know, they're very quite similar in a way, because if you look at the windscreen and the windshields, they're very upright. They're kind of squared off. I mean, your windscreen reminds me a little bit more of like a Wrangler.
I think Lexus nailed the design of the GX. I think Ineos, or Ineos, depending on how you want to say it, with the Grenadier, nailed the design on this vehicle. But the front end designs are pretty fundamentally different, because the Lexus has an integrated grille, hood, headlight design. It's all very flush, whereas of course with the Grenadier it's very much old school, where you've got a detachable metal bumper, and then of course you got the vertical lights and grille.
You know what, like you said, they're very different. I mean, there's some body shape similarities to them. It's just whatever you prefer, right? Do you want rugged, kind of really like safari type vehicle, or do you want to occasionally go to the a nice restaurant or downtown as well? I mean, both will do everything, right?
Yeah.
But just the styling is way different.
It's interesting though, Andre, because I think they both kind of appeal to the same person. Someone who has perhaps made it in life, they have a lot of money, they maybe want to stand out from the crowd a little bit, they want to show that they've got some adventure-oriented mindset, but they also want to maybe impress their friends a little bit. This one is obviously a little bit more off-road focused, even compared to an Overtrail. Like, you can get a factory installed winch in the Grenadier, which you can't in an Overtrail or any spec of Lexus. So this is a little bit more oriented toward that four-wheel drive community, but this is just, the Lexus is a stunning design, and I really like, I mean, they continued that squared off motive with the squared off fenders, right? The Overtrail sits a little wider than this luxury.
Yeah.
The FJ Cruiser inspired mirrors.
Yep.
You've got that separate roof design, kind of like that Grenadier a little bit, in that you've got the two-tone look potential. And then back here, once again, that kick up on that belt line, and then the vertical rear end. It's a good looking vehicle.
Yeah, I would agree. Oh, and this too. Check this out. Does Grenadier have this?
It does not. No, you're right.
See?
Yeah, so they've got away from the swing gate from the old GX, and now they're on the lift gate.
Yeah.
Which I think is an improvement, honestly, because now you can hang out underneath here, right? Snowing, raining, you're doing your hiking boots up, you're loading skis in, you got a shielded space. Now, if we compare that to the Grenadier, this vehicle's obviously got a lot of inspiration from the original Defender.
Yeah.
Because that's where the design...
Especially here.
Yeah, right.
This looks really Defender-like.
The diamond plating.
Yeah.
I think I would have a harder time, and I was talking to my dad about this, both of these vehicles are 80 grand. I would have a harder time beating up my GX, even the Overtrail, than I would with this Grenadier. Something about like the diamond plating and the snorkel and the rock rails just make it feel like it's designed to go run into trees.
I think not many. Well, first of all, not many people know Ineos or the Grenadier, right? Sometimes when I say it to some of my friends who are not in the industry, they're like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
But when you see it in person, it has this quality to it, something attractive, right? It's hard to put. Watch out for the prairie dogs.
Oh, thanks, Andre.
It's hard to put it in words, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of attractive, very handsome, and very macho.
And they have options like the utility belt along the side, so you can bolt on Max Trax jerry cans. You know, you've got the handles up here, so if you need to get up on the roof, you can spec it with outlets up here. I shouldn't say outlets, power ports up here for rooftop tent accessories, lights, that kind of thing. I do think that the GX has a better, more usable rear gate design. This has got the dual split open gate. So you got the little one, and then you got the big one.
Okay.
Which is okay. And what's nice is you don't have to open the huge gate at the Walmart or the Whole Foods. You can just open up the little gate. But I do think that the opening vertical one's a little bit more useful. But then again, got that full-size spare mounted out back, which is a neat design.
Which we'll show you later because there's not a lot of vision out back from the mirrors.
But
here.
this kind of sums up the differences between the two. Because on the GX, if you need to change a spare out on the trail, you're crawling underneath, you're messing with it, right?
Yeah.
This is just right back out here. Yes, it's not super practical, but you just grab it off the gate and off you go.
Yeah, a little bit more off-road minded.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have a hitch on this one.
I don't. It is an option.
Okay.
What's the capacity towing-wise on the Lexus?
You know what? They're almost identical.
Okay.
So European manufacturers have something called 3.5 tons,
Okay.
right, which is about 7,700 pounds. So this is what this tows, or could tow with a hitch, right?
Yeah.
7,800 pounds on the Lexus.
Right.
So that, I mean, or even up to 9,000 pounds with certain models like Overtrail.
Yeah.
So they're right now, these two are very similar.
And the GX, Andre, also has that integrated brake controller.
Yeah, this doesn't, right?
Whereas this, you're going to have to add it aftermarket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Andre, let's go over to the Lexus and we'll start talking about what powers these vehicles. Because once again, the situation is a little different, but kind of in the same vein.
Yeah, let me pop the hood. They're both body-on-frame vehicles, like you said.
Yeah,
so.
and we'll take a look at that here in a second. We get them up on the lift, talk about the suspension differences. But popping the hood of the GX, we're going to find a forced-inducted 6-cylinder.
Yeah, it's a twin-turbo engine, 3.4 liter. Basically, this is the Tundra engine. The new Tundra has a very similar setup. The horsepower is a little bit different on this. 349 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, 10-speed automatic. But that's a lot of torque, dude. Almost 480 pound-feet.
It's a lot of torque.
It's like a V8. I mean, or more than any standard V8.
It's a lot more than the old V8 4.6. Yeah. The chief engineer told me that these are smaller turbos than you'd find on the Tundra.
Okay.
But otherwise a pretty similar engine.
That must be the horsepower difference.
Yeah.
Because the Tundra horsepower is higher at about 389.
Sure, right. But the torque is very impressive out of this unit.
Yeah.
Fuel economy is not as impressive. It's like 19?
Yeah, on a good day.
19 on a good day. Now, the Grenadier, Andre, does not use an in-house manufactured engine. Instead, the team decided to source their engine from BMW. So that's a 3-liter inline 6.
Well, this is a little bit odd.
Yeah, where's the little...
Oh, here.
You know why they do that, Andre?
Why?
Because there's actually 2 different hood positions. You can actually use this one.
Oh, like for servicing?
Yeah.
Versus just showing off?
So we got 1 turbo instead of 2 on the Lexus. A lot less power, 282 horsepower. And then torque is like 332.
Yeah.
And then that's mated to a ZF 8-speed automatic. So yours is a 10, this is an 8.
Right.
And then this uses a Tremec transfer case.
Transfer case, yeah.
Full-time 4-wheel drive. And then I also want to give a shout out to our partner on the TFL Off-Road Ineos series, Magna. Magna is a leading supplier engineering
Tier
firm.
1 supplier, yeah.
An enormous powerhouse in automotive engineering. And they work closely with Ineos to develop, tune, test the inline 6 for an off-road application. They also worked on the transfer case, and they also did the engineering on the frame and the suspension. So Magna is a leading, I mean, if you want to build a ground-up 4-wheel drive, you go to Magna.
Well, actually, Magna Steyr also builds the G-Wagon.
Yes.
They build the Unimog.
Yep.
They build some other vehicles. They make components. So yeah, I would trust them. And Ineos, this is interesting, and Magna, this is like best of breed, right? So they picked components, right, from different manufacturers, and then they put them all together. I like to call it best of breed because, like Ram choosing like a Cummins engine and an Aisin transmission and putting it all together. But of course, it's a new company, so they have to build up trust, right? We don't know exactly how this will last.
And honestly, Andre, that really is going to be the fundamental difference between these two vehicles, right? This is a Toyota Lexus developed powertrain.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure it's going to be bulletproof, but people are going into this purchase with the belief that this is going to be a super long-lasting, reliable product. This Grenadier, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Because you don't know. It's a new company.
It's a brand new company, right? Now, this engine, B58, was used in like the majority of BMWs.
X5s.
X5, 3 Series.
Yeah, X3s.
And what I can tell you is in BMWs, this engine has a much better reliability record than some of the stuff from like the mid-2000s, right? And I'm trying to be as transparent as possible because I'm not saying that this is going to be as long-lived as a Lexus. But if you look at like some of the N-Series engines with the twin turbos that had tons of problems, injector failures, turbo failures, the B58 has been out long enough, it's in the Supra even, that it's pretty well established. ZF 8-speed, they use it in everything, right? Really well established. Tremec and Magna on the transfer case, also two huge powerhouse.
And axles are...
Carraro.
Carraro. I want to say Recaro, but I think those are seats.
Carraro.
Yeah.
And Carraro is an axle company we don't know in the US, right? But it's kind of like Dana for tractors.
Okay.
So like heavy duty equipment in Europe use Carraro axles. Like box trucks and stuff. So I'm not saying it's going to be solid. That's why we bought it, to see if it is going to be solid. In 2,500 miles, it's been perfect, but it's only 2,500 miles. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, that's already good usage. What, a month or 2 months into it?
Yeah, I mean,
Almost?
we're really driving the beans off of it to try to get some miles to see what breaks. And so far, it's been great. So Andre, of the two from a design standpoint, you have one to choose. Which one do you like the look of more?
Do you want to close that hood?
Yep.
You know what? Like we said, they both nailed it. I like the Ineos better.
Okay.
You know what I don't like about the overall look? The tire looks a little bit small on the Ineos.
Yeah.
I know what they're going for, efficiency and drivability and all those things. But it needs a bigger tire, I think.
Funny thing about efficiency, it's rated at 15, which is bad. It's bad.
What have you been getting? Did you notice anything?
18.7. So it's actually doing quite a bit better than the...
So they're similar kind of to the GX.
Similar, real world, yeah. Okay. Tires are too small, Andre.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Overall look, this is a Tonka toy. It looks so cool. So
it's hard to put it into words. You have to see it in person. So trust us.
That's amazing too.
Yeah,
the
it's
Lexus
amazing.
is awesome. But just from a make your inner 8-year-old smile, the bright blue Ineos is just so fun. All right, Andre.
Pretty nice, right? Multicolor interior.
It is pretty nice. Yeah,
pretty
Lexus
comfy.
Has done a pretty good job, I think, on the inside of this GX. Now, being the 550 luxury plus with all the goodies, this thing is a luxury technology powerhouse.
It is.
All right, Andre, so you're listening to your Justin Timberlake on this enormous screen.
I do enjoy a little bit of Timberlake,
A little JT. Yeah, I do like some JT and some Biebs. Well, let's talk about the screen in general. So every control in here is basically an electronic, touch-sensitive thing.
Which normally I would say not good. But at least the temperature knobs, right, are physical.
Yep.
They're attached to the screen. The volume knob is physical.
Yep.
We got a couple of controls here for defrost.
Yep.
And then I also have my camera button, which is kind of hidden by the steering wheel from my perspective.
Yeah.
But now I know where it's at.
Give it a push. Let's see what the cameras look like. Ooh, look at that. All right, so we got the full 360.
Oh, but that's nothing.
Yeah.
Let me show you. So if I put it in reverse.
Okay.
Or even forward.
Yeah, look how.
See, look at this. So it remembers what's below and it's gonna basically show me what I'm driving over.
Oh, Andre, look, you can see the rocks.
See?
That's pretty cool. If you go forward, it'll still...
It'll remember that as well.
There's a front camera. Those are some of the best cameras I've seen in a long time, Andre.
Actually, my shadow is disappearing. So, I mean, the computer is trying to do the best possible thing for me, which is pretty cool.
It's a vampire car. Look, Andre, sticker on this thing, somewhere around 84.
Yeah.
Thereabouts, mid-80s. This is a luxury experience. Heated seats, ventilated seats. We've got full power.
Leather-wrapped steering wheel.
Massage.
Latest cruise control systems.
Adaptive cruise. We've got blind spot monitoring. We even have, check out this roof, Andre. Look, you can go from clear to opaque.
Yes.
Back to clear, the push of a button.
That's wonderful. I mean, other than like some ultra-luxury vehicles, this is my first experience with this roof. I love it.
Yeah, really cool, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a really comfortable place. One thing I don't like, and we're going to find this on the Grenadier too, the seats have a nice contrasting brown to them. The overall dash is pretty monochromatic.
Flat.
Yeah, pretty monochromatic, very vertical. Like, you know, Toyota usually is pretty good about adding color to their dash, but they didn't do so on the GX.
Yes, and I do have, like you said, full-time four-wheel drive. I have low range. I have a center locker, so I can lock the differential, so about 50-50 split front to rear. I also have drive modes. I've been using when I'm in the city, I'm in eco mode, so I like to be as efficient as possible, but of course, I also have Sport S and Sport S Plus and other modes, and I have a tow haul mode. You can't quite see it, but it's down here.
And this,
as well.
This really is what we're missing on this one over the Overtrail is no multi-terrain select, no crawl control, and no rear locker.
Yes, and I kind of want those features here. I mean, I want everything.
Yeah.
If I'm paying 85 grand or 84 grand or whatever it is.
So what we're going to do is next time when we have the Overtrail out here, we'll run it through the slip test. It's going to be more apples to apples with the Grenadier. But let's check out the backseat of this, and then we'll head in the Ineos.
And this is also 3-row.
Oh, good point, Andre.
This is also a captain chair experience in the back. There's a cup holders between the seats. Seats are pretty comfortable, but dude, when I exited, the seat kind of retracted all the way back to let me out, and my legroom is limited.
Yeah,
here.
Pretty small back seat.
Yes.
It does have a third row, which is almost exclusively for emergencies if you're an adult, but is usable for kids. However, it is nice that that option exists.
I don't know if this will work. Let me move this seat forward. Hold on a second.
Yeah, the fold and tumble thing where it crashes into the seat back's a little annoying. There you go. You got it.
Okay, so I can do this. And then really, I mean, there's a step there, which is nice. So I can do this.
Nice.
But you're right. I mean, this is not for big adults. I'm hitting my head and my knees are way up.
Yeah, and the Overtrail one is 2-row only, so that's also something to take into consideration. All right, Andre, welcome to the land of buttons.
Yes, I love this. First of all, the door handle feels like a vault.
Yeah.
Like an old school door. So that already feels nice. Dude, this looks like an airplane.
Yeah, look, the whole thing about the Grenadier is it is supposed to be old school physical controls. It doesn't even have push button start. They still have a key that you have to put in a slot.
I'm fine with that.
And unlike the GX, right, like where the climate control was all incorporated into the screen, where most of the things you can do are going to be in the touchscreen, in the Ineos, we got a lot of buttons, not only down here, but also up here. Auxiliary switches, we've got the controls for the locking diffs, ESC, hill descent control, all of it are buttons.
And switches. Cool. And dude, I don't think you'll find another, at least, mainstream vehicle with anything like this. I love it. It's unique. It's different. And look, everything is thoughtful. The compass here has elevation and our direction in degrees.
Yep.
That's pretty sweet.
However, Andre.
What?
It's a functional interior, but it is not a luxury interior.
Well, I have cloth seats here.
You got cloth seats, no heated seats, no heated steering wheel, no adaptive cruise.
No power seats. I have to do this manually.
Yep, no ventilation on the seats. We got no blind spot monitoring.
For the same price.
for the same price.
Yes.
Now, this is a hard thing to understand for a lot of us from our perspective in the US, which I think a lot of more folks in Australia understand, right? So like in Australia, they have a 70 series Land Cruiser, which can be $70, $80, $90,000 and has the luxuries of a McDonald's ball pit, right? So that you have to like separate the concept between luxury and quality.
And capability.
Yeah, so
right.
I think that this is actually pretty high quality interior in general. Like the steering wheel leather is nice. All the assembly is really, really tight.
Nothing is really like rattling.
No, but it's not a luxury experience. And the screen's a little bit of a mess. So I just stick it on wireless Apple CarPlay and never touch it. If you start having to use the UI, it's a little clunky, it's a little slow.
Can I compliment something here?
Yeah, yeah.
I was here, a day prior, and I was looking at this. I clicked the off-road screen. And it blew my mind in a good way.
Yep. Takes a few months to
It's okay.
boot up.
I don't care.
But check this out.
Look at this. Okay. So that's not, some other manufacturers do this. But keep going. Look at this. My gearbox temperature, my transfer case temperature, all my pressures, tire temperature. Is this like a Formula One car? Like I know my tire temperatures and everything else. And then if you keep going, I can record my path. I can do a road book. I can record my traveling.
Yep.
Dude, I think other manufacturers need to take notice. Look at this. Your elevation graphed for you.
Yeah. And then this is my favorite page. You can actually see the state of charge of the 12-volt battery. 98%. It's charging at 7 amps, 8 amps. That's cool. So
Who would have thunk?
They tell you a ton of good information. The off-road pages in the Grenadier freaking rock. They're so cool. It's just when you have to go into the phone and some of the other connectivity bits. And I also wish they had a little screen in front of the steering wheel.
They don't.
Like they have this thing, it's called the Telltale, which tells you like your check engine light and your lockers and that kind of thing. We haven't had a check engine light, just want to say, but it lets you know that it's working.
Yes.
But I'd like an actual like MPH readout there. But Andre, like even the transfer case, right? The Lexus has that little toggle. Look at this.
It's a proper lever.
Check that out. You gotta yank up on that collar to go into low range. You gotta lock the center diff like that. It's pretty cool. All right, stepping into the back seat of the Grenadier. Actually, it's got pretty good room back here, really good leg room. And then the headroom is awesome because the roof is so high, you get that stadium seating effect. 3 abreast seating. Now, one more word about the seats. Kind of a neoprene cloth, like Andre mentioned. They're by Recaro. Not Carraro, Andre. Recaro.
Okay.
And they are manual, but they're also surprisingly comfortable. So it's kind of a give and take there. But once again, like back seat here, we do have air vents, but we don't have like heated rear seats, no climate control back here. It's pretty basic. And no cup holders. That is an absolute shame. In America, no cup holders. What are they thinking?
Can you add your own somehow?
You're going to have to, Andre. You're going to be holding your drink the whole trip.
And sync.
Boom.
Shakalaka.
Sorry. Right, Andre. With that out of the way, we're going to go to the Onyx Off-Road Trenches course.
Yes. At Andre's pit.
At Andre's pit? We're in your pit?
Yeah, we are. We're getting in there.
We haven't arrived yet.
So, first of all, it's the first moment I got into the new GX 550.
Yep. I
noticed something. Low window sill.
Yep.
That's good for many reasons. First of all, I can put my arm on it, but also visibility.
It's awesome.
I can see towards my front, on your side, my side. And also the hood has a dip in the middle.
Yep.
And I also have good visibility there.
Yeah, you do. And then you've got these kind of haunches on the sides to get an idea of where your front tire placement is. At least that's what Lexus says they're for. I really like the vertical windshield in this and the thin A pillars. It's kind of like driving a super luxurious 80 series Land Cruiser. It's a very similar sensation where you sit high, you're close to the windshield, and it's very upright with thin pillars. It's amazing they were able to pass rollover with these pillars.
And also, I noticed one other thing on the highway.
Yep.
I was going about 75 on the interstate, and I noticed a little bit of wind noise up here.
A little bit, huh?
So I think that upright windscreen maybe has a little bit of wind. I'm gonna throw myself into 4 low.
Yep, go ahead and do that. Nice.
Actually worked right away. I could hear it. And,
really quick.
And I'm gonna lock my center diff.
Great.
Also quick action.
And that's all we can do in this one.
Yeah. No, I can't pull any other levers.
No rear locker, but hopefully that'll get us up trenches, which are these divots cut into the earth.
So, Here's another issue I have with the GX.
Okay.
My numbers are not very great. I'm talking about ground clearance, about 8.7-ish inches.
I have them all
Okay.
on this sheet of paper here, Andre. By the
My
way,
approach
yep.
is like 26.
Angle of approach 26, angle of departure 21, breakover 23. This is where I could use that rear locker.
Ooh. I'm on 2 tires. I'm kind of teeter-tottering.
Yeah, it's actually doing pretty good. So one of the cool things you can get in the GX, depending on the trim, is something called EKDSS, which is the electronic kinetic dynamic suspension system.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, which will electronically disconnect/reconnect the stability bars to give you more articulation off-road, better stability on-road. Man, that worked great. We just crawled up that, even without the locker.
But also, you could hear the ABS and traction control system working, right?
Right.
But my numbers, 26 approach, 23 departure,
Yeah.
and 22-ish breakover. Those are not incredibly high numbers.
No,
For the
not,
GX.
not amazing. And look, if you
It's
go,
down here.
if you go to the over trail, like the angle of approach,
It's
actually the same, 26. The angle of departure is 22, so that's a little better. Breakover is 24, and then of course, we were talking about the wheel articulation, EKDSS, that jumps up to 24 and a half
yeah,
inches. So
which is really
good.
high.
Yeah, it's good. But look, if you want to go off-road, this is why we're not focusing too much on off-road. You have to get the over trail.
It's about tires.
Because these 22-inch wheels, what are the tires, Andre?
It's a Dunlop Grand Trek PT5A. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was F, but then it looks like a P. So I've never used these tires off-road, so it's a question.
Actually, the ride up the logs is pretty good. I found from driving both on road, the over trail rides better than the luxury because you get that 18-inch wheel with bigger sidewall.
Yeah.
But even the 22 rides pretty good. And I have to say, Andre, the power, especially the torque, the low-speed torque delivery
Yeah.
with this twin turbo,
It's amazing.
it's awesome. Everyone was really worried about like, oh, they went away from the V8, like it's going to be not very good off-road.
Oh, it's gobs of torque.
It's awesome, yeah. Like peak torque, I remember from the presentation, it's like 1,700 RPM.
It's like a diesel.
The old V8 was like 3,400, something like that.
And
it
there
was
was
pretty up.
less torque even at those higher RPMs.
Yeah, so really the twin turbo thing works really well off-road, tons of power on-road. It's just a good driving vehicle.
So now
overall.
you guys know that you can take your 22s and a luxury GX and you can run over logs.
And go right to the tire shop
Yes.
and get something smaller, with more sidewall.
Boom, now we're inside the Ineos.
Yeah, we sure are, Andre. So immediately feels very different,
Yes.
right? Even more upright than the GX, which is wild. Even closer to the windshield than the GX.
Yes.
The way I would describe this thing to drive is perfectly in between a Wrangler and a G-Wagon. So it's not quite as perhaps stiff.
Refined or
Well, I was not gonna say it's not quite as stiff or jostly as the Wrangler. It's not quite as refined on-road as a G-Wagon, but it sits right there in the middle. The big thing that I think people dislike when they get behind the wheel of this is the steering. Incredibly slow, imprecise recirculating ball, which on the road doesn't really bug me at all. For some people, it drives them up the wall because you are constantly doing small steering corrections.
But I mean, you've driven many Jeeps.
That's way better
of
than-
different generations.
I mean, it's better than that, and it's not sloppy. It's just slow.
But did you see this?
Mirrors are small.
No. You did not make it in one go.
The turning radius is really.
Turning radius is like what's a British ship? Queen Mary?
We'll say Queen Mary. That's good. Yeah.
No. But I want to make this point. The wheelbase is longer than the GX by about 3 inches. It's
Right.
a 115-inch wheelbase, which makes it a little bit less maneuverable, right?
Yep.
Like we just saw.
But the overall length is shorter,
Yes.
which gives you some pretty awesome angles. Do we have the paper?
Yeah, I have
You
it.
have it?
I have it. Approach. By the way, are you locked?
We're going unlocked.
Okay.
We're going to test out that articulation with that solid front axle, which we have that Lexus doesn't.
So 10.4 inches of ground clearance, 36.2 degrees of approach, 36 degree of departure. Oh, wait.
A little stuck. And actually, the traction control intervention is a lot slower in the Ineos,
Then in the GX.
but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to push this button. I'm going to lock up the transfer case. Gauge the rear locker.
Do you feel like a pilot in like a Boeing?
I feel so cool right now, Andre. Immediately cool.
Or an Airbus?
We can go into
maybe an Airbus.
Off-road mode too. We have to be in park, I believe, for off-road mode. Oh, no. This is the locker engagement is a little frustrating in this vehicle. All right, there we go. We got it.
Okay.
All right.
Now let's see what happens.
We're locked up. Boom.
Complete different world, right?
Yeah, check that out. And if we wanted more, we could click on the front locker.
Yeah.
And then just go over anything.
So that's what mechanical advantage gives you, right? It's a mechanical thing instead of a traction control system, right? Trying to help you out.
And like I said, that Lexus, if you get the Overtrail, you also have that rear locker,
Yeah.
which I'm so happy they included. And I really wish they had some kind of the Ineos version of EKDSS in this vehicle. I think that would be really cool.
But you see, your turning radius is about as big as once again, the boat.
Yeah, it's not great, Andre, but it's not offensive during normal driving. What is offensive is the fact that every time you drive it on the road and you go over the speed limit, even by 1 or 2 miles an hour,
Yeah.
it clicks at you, it beeps at you, warning you you're going too fast. I think it's a European regulation thing.
Okay.
And then you have to turn it off every single time you drive the vehicle, which they say they're going to fix in an update. That's what our buddy Alex has been talking to his dealer about.
Yeah.
But like, please make that happen sooner rather than later.
And I know, I mean, different countries have different laws, but here, we don't have that regulation, right?
Right.
I mean, you don't have to beep every time you go 1 mile an hour over the speed limit.
I feel much more comfortable beating this up off-road though, Andre. We got rubber floors, neoprene seats, metal
KO2s
metal bumpers. Yeah, you
and
just
rock sliders.
rock sliders, underbody protection. You just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Even like the Overtrail, which I've driven, does feel a little fancy for hard off-road terrain.
But wait a minute. The Lexus was a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, it's a solid axle. Yeah, it's a little jostly. The Lexus in general, Andre, is just quite a bit more comfortable.
Yeah. Even in those 22s, it's amazing what Lexus has done with their suspension.
Now, I will say, Andre, on the road, this thing does cruise fine, 75, 80. I'm going to go at a low range here. And that BMW inline straight six doesn't have as much power as the Lexus, but it's got plenty.
Yeah,
It's got a lot of torque.
What, 330 almost pound-feet of torque? That's plenty.
And same thing, it's so low in the RPM, and this engine's almost programmed like a diesel in that it loves to lug up hills and just start cranking that turbo, so you get a really cool sound when you're driving up the interstate, up hills, because you just get straight turbo whistle, which is pretty cool.
Okay. All right, Tommy, we are underneath the GX, and take a look at this. The front end, protected, well, with kind of a thin skid plate, but still metal.
Yeah, and even on the luxury, you get the skid plate. Now, what I want to focus on under here, Andre, independent front suspension, so you can see the lower control arm there.
It's here.
It all looks pretty overbuilt. There's your little adjusters on your lower control arm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty beefy under here, Andre.
Well, here's the front pumpkin. That's basically the differential.
Yeah, you can see your front diff, then moving further back here. I mean, a lot of kind of exposed stuff on this luxury. Like there's going to be a transmission pan, and then moving further back, we find the transfer case back here, along with the cross member. And then out back, it still does have a traditional solid rear axle, right, Andre?
Yeah, it does. And also, I want to point to the frame. Let's see, where's the good place? Right here. Fully boxed, really strong. It's their TNGA-F platform, right, that they're using on Sequoias, Tacomas, Tundras, LX600s. Every body on frame vehicle, pretty much.
And also check this out, Andre. We also have a skid plate on the fuel tank, which is awesome.
Yes.
And then back here, so here we can see the rear sway bar, right?
It's kind of thin.
It is kind of thin, but if we had the EKDSS system, the electronic kinetic dynamic suspension system, there'd be a unit here that would allow it to become uncoupled to give us more articulation front and back. But this one does not have that feature.
Yeah, but you could see coil springs. I think if you kind of look under here, coil springs. And like when we drive it, when I drive it, I think I did a good job with the suspension comfort.
Overall pretty good. Yeah, they did a nice job for a solid axle vehicle. It's pretty comfortable. And then back here underneath, you're going to find, of course, your spare tire.
A full-size spare.
Which is awesome to see. Yeah, another Dunlop Grand Trek.
22.
So, 22, baby. So just like the Lexus, the Ineos has a front-mounted skid plate to protect the radiator, but the big difference, Andre, is the solid front axle, which is better for articulation, worse for on-road performance, but look how beefy everything is.
It's humongous.
Dude, it's enormous. And then because we have that solid front axle with the drive shaft making its way from the transfer case down to the front, the whole engine transmission combo is tucked way high, like way out of the way. And then look at the size of the frame, dude. It's just enormous.
It's maybe even bigger than the GX's, or even like the Tundra frame.
So you might notice, like, okay, well, the transmission pan also a little bit exposed, but you'd have to drive over something so immense to even get there, and you'd of course hit the cross member first.
Yeah, it is really tucked out of the way.
It's almost hilarious. Another cool thing too is that the front pumpkin and the rear diff are in line with each other, so that if you clear something in the front, you're going to clear it in the rear as well. That's a typical old Land Rover trick that they used to employ. Fuel tank way back here.
Also protected.
It does have the skid plate, yeah. And then rear axle, same thing. It's just super, super heavy duty. We've got the yellow coil springs there. One thing which is interesting, Andre, is that the Lexus had the sway bar in front of the rear axle. And the Ineos has it behind the rear axle.
And slightly beefier. This anti-sway bar is a little bit thicker, it looks like.
How much does that Lexus weigh?
About 5,700 pounds.
This is about 5,800.
So they're similar.
So pretty similar.
I want to point out, you can kind of see on this rear spring, the spacing between coils is different from the bottom to the top. It's basically kind of a two-stage or a progressive spring. So basically, as it squishes down, it will have a little bit more resistance, which is really good for like heavy towing, right? If you put a lot of tongue load on the back of this machine.
And this is pretty unusual for a factory-equipped vehicle. The rock rails are actually bolted to the frame rather than the rocker. So,
which is great.
It's really, really good. Yeah, so I would say underneath, this thing is pretty overbuilt and pretty tall. Everything's really tucked up out of the way. All right, Andre, so we got 80 grand for our Ineos Grenadier as spec'd. Mid-80s for the GX 550. Which one are you taking?
Woo! That's a hard one. GX.
GX, huh?
Yes. Yeah, here's why. Refinement. I feel really comfortable. Great visibility. I do wish I'm missing some over-trail bits. But overall, it even has an integrated brake controller. I mean, GX.
Yeah, I mean, and look, they have the dealer network. They have the proven resale value. I mean, you have to be crazy to go for the Ineos over the GX.
So what are you doing?
The Ineos. I'm doing the Ineos. Because it's just more interesting. You know, I love the solid front axle and the dual lockers and the snorkel and the steel wheels. What other car has steel wheels nowadays? And it's just so berserk. And like, yes, it has annoyances and some little weird things like that horrible speed limit thing. But like, you just fall in love with it. And if it's, I'm fingers crossed, if it's even remotely reliable, which it has been really good so far, I mean, it's just so cool.
Well, there you go, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And of course, oldtfl.com is where you'll find everything automotive in one place.
We'll see you next time.